Good morning. This is Wednesday, the 26th of August, 1987. I hope you're feeling good this morning. Sorry you got in such a damn mess trying to get here for our golden wedding, but I sure appreciate your efforts. And it would have been lovely if you could have made it. I thought I'd better stop by and try to do a little reminiscing. Maybe you could stand that. Probably some stuff you don't even remember, but I do. Anyhow, like the wasps in the tin shed over across there, we used to knock them loose with the clods and cobs up there on the roof and then get the hell out of there quick. Remember that? We didn't get stung very often, but there's a lot of them up there on the roof, tin roof, and we used to knock them off of there, and clods and cobs and whatever, throwing them up there and knock a nest off of there, and then boy, howdy, you had to go quick, because it was full of wasps back in there. That was one thing we done quite a little of. And then if we give Clifford a chew of tobacco, why, he always got sick. Break out in a cold sweat, sit around for a while, and then probably upchuck, then get to feeling better. But he always got sick on a chew of tobacco. Anyhow, he made it through it all right, I guess. He's still around. And we put up a lot of hay down there on that place one year, below the big house. And do you remember going down to, straight down below the big house, clear down to the creek there on the 4th of July one time? I guess we went different time, but this time got an old snapping turtle and got him up on the bank, and it was 4th of July, of course. Had some of the old flash crackers, them old good kind, and old turtle was just sitting there. Glenn had him, and he had his mouth sticking out there kind of open, and he stuck one of them in his mouth, and he shut down on it. And so he lit it. The old turtle pulled his head back in his shell, and when it went off, he just spit his shell right down the middle. Remember that? That was quite a lot of fun for everybody but the turtle. And we stayed in that Boy Scout house up on the hill there, right up above that, one night, if you remember. Spent a beautiful night there. Froze to death or something most of the night, I think. Nothing to eat in the morning. Wasn't a real fancy outing, I remember. Anyhow, we did that. And one time we was heading down to your place horseback. I was riding behind you, I think. We caught up with Sam Murphy and another guy riding along there just this west of the old big house, stone house, on that straight stretch there. And there was a snake along the side of the road. somebody killed him, and we got him, and old Sam, he was pretty jumpy anyhow, but we just rode right up close to him from behind, and I laid that snake around his, just over his shoulders, around his neck, over his shoulder. And he like to fell off the horse when he saw what it was. And he tried to catch us for a little ways, but we outrun him for a little ways. It sure shook him up. Snake deal. And then there was the time that G. Larson thought he was a promoter, and he had got a baseball game with the Eugene Field School there south of the college. And we went down there and got started playing them, and we played 2 or 3 innings, I guess. We was beating them, and somehow or another a couple of them got mad and started a fight among themselves, and the whole team got a fighting, and there was a hell of a commotion going on there, so we just picked up and got out and went home. That was quite a ball game, I remember. Old Larson, he thought he was a promoter. His brother had a town team, a traveling team there for a while, or tried to get one going. But he thought he was promoting, and he got us a dang game down there. But it kind of blew up. Then we had the old swimming hole stuff. The old swimming hole, we had a lot of good times down there, swinging off that rope. And I'm talking way back. It was before 25. It was the early part of the 20s. So we weren't really very big kids. We moved up on the Kearns place from down there on the creek in 25, so it was all, this was all before that. So that goes back a ways. I'm glad I still can remember it, because there was some good old times. Good old times. I hope you can remember some of them. And there was later on, when we got up in the hills there, we had a lot of ball games, and I remember one that we ended up playing, and the other team, it was some college team that was out there, and we could always beat them in pretty good shape. Anyhow, this outfit was playing out there in the field, and somebody hit a fly ball out there, and the center fielder and the left fielder both run after it, and they run together, and just walloped, and the ball fell on the ground, and so did they. Anyhow, one of them, he finally got up, and the other was walling around there on the ground, kind of bad shape, and they went out there to try to help him, and he'd swallowed his tongue. Terrible fix. Finally somebody got their finger down there and dug his tongue out and got him straightened out a little bit. And I guess it didn't kill him because never saw in the paper where he died or anything. We thought that was quite a deal after he got going. Swallowed his tongue. That was quite a deal, I thought. And played lots of ball out there and had a lot of fun. One of my grandsons was wondering about that Whitney team, and I told him kind of some about it. I think we only had it 1 year for a while, but we had one. Done pretty good, I think, for what we played. Anyhow, there's lots carrying on of them ball games. Big day at Sunday afternoon. And after you guys got to high school, we got to play that damn basketball. Play that for some evenings. Be so stove up you couldn't hardly go out and pick up corn anymore without hurting all day. Couldn't bend over to pick up your corn after they'd cut it. Used to have to pick up the corn. And had a terrible job after a night of that basketball business. Play once a week or something and get all stove up you couldn't hardly walk. I remember that. And back to the old swimming pool, we had a lot of good times there. And we went up and spent a night up in the Goheen pasture, if you remember that. You and Clifford and I went up there in spring and stayed all night. Got out there in the moonlight and roped the goddamn steer, and he got away from us, rope and all, and we like to never got it back. But we finally did. You remember that trip? I don't think we got a great lot of sleep that night, but anyhow, we out there and spent it. And big deal. And when he lived over on the Whitney place there, Uncle Lacy lived in that north house. And up the creek above him there, they got a squirrel in a hole in the tree. And we got Clifford up there punching him with a stick to get him to come out. And he had his hand kind of in the hole, and he jerked his hand out of there and knocked some skin off his knuckles as he was coming out. He jerked it out so hard. And he says, "The son of a gun spit on me." Well, he thought that was a pretty good squirrel if he spit on him. But anyhow, we finally decided to leave the squirrel, I think. Mean squirrel like that, spitting on a guy. We had a lot of fun about that. Yeah, it was some of the good old days, I guess. And I wrote down a lot of stuff here so I could talk to you, and I've already gone over most of them. It's a hard proposition to make a conversation last when you're talking to a tape. You run out real quick, it seems like. And we made a bunch of cider over there one year on that orchard north of the barn. Golly, cranked that thing to run out of crank. We got a lot of apple cider there, I remember. Probably still got some for vinegar, I don't know. There was always a hunting on Thanksgiving. We always made a trip out there afoot hunting. Never got much anything, maybe a skunk once in a while. But that was a big deal on Thanksgiving. They were good old times. The men went trout hunting and we went hunting. We just went out messing around, chasing owls and stuff like that. But there's sometimes kids that don't go through that stuff, I don't know whether they know much or not. Seemed like they missed a lot of life. They didn't get any of that kind of stuff. And there was another time I missed on that older time stuff. When Uncle Ray had the toy factory, he had that big old 7-passenger Buick. And he took us kids a ride one time. I think we were all at our place, and he took us a ride, and we come over the hill there by the old greenhouse heading west. Well, we got over that ridge and took down across that flat there, boy, he got her up to 60 miles an hour. We thought, man, we was up flying for sure. But it was fast for those times, I guess. But he sure thought he had something with that old car. He took the valve covers off and watched those valves. See, you just couldn't see how fast they went up and down. Golly, you didn't know how they could make things run that fast. He's all hepped up over that for a while there one day. Anyhow, we got to ride 60 miles an hour down that road there for a little ways. I can remember that, sure enough. That was speed, boy. Yeah, then when Frank, Blair, and Kate were courting, why, they go by our place in the horse and buggy, by Grandma's place in the horse and buggy, and we go throw clods at them, and I don't think Frank ever liked that for shucks. We didn't do it very often, but I remember a time or two we done it, threw clods at them. But, horse and buggy days were real old days, weren't they? I remember a time when you lived up in Flush there, up by Flush. I must have went up and stayed overnight with you or something. Anyhow, we were coming out of there, heading down this country, and there was some prairie chicken out there on a stack of hay. I just barely remember that. And they turned around real quick and went back and got the shotgun. We were going to try to get one of them, and golly, when we got up there, why, they flew up. Got away before we got a chance to get a shot at them, but that's the first prairie chicken I ever saw. Wasn't very big when that happened. I don't know what year you moved off of that place up there. Came down here, but it was in the teens, I guess. Maybe 20. Anyhow, those were a long time ago anyway. I remember one time I was always over there and following you around and being a damn nuisance, but I remember one time you guys and your mother had a big function on somewhere one evening, and your dad asked me to go to the picture show with him. And so I done that. Got over there and we went to this picture show, and it was the first talking movies I ever saw. Oh, I thought I was really getting uptown. See one of them. Don't remember what the movie was anymore, but it was a talking one anyhow. It was real. You really enjoy them kind. You didn't have to sit there and try to read what they said. Big deal anyhow. Those a big change in the movie business. We went in the car, however. We didn't have to go with a horse and buggy. Anyway, I can remember doing that. I think he kind of liked me. Anyhow, I don't know. Either that or he felt sorry for me. But that was a good night out. Then I remember when you moved up the creek, up McIntyre Creek. We took a couple of loads, team and wagons, made a trip up there and back in a day, and took all day, and made 2 or 3 trips that way. Get them loaded up one day, and then I'd go with you, and we'd leave in the morning, early in the morning, and had 2 teams and wagons loaded with stuff, the outdoor stuff, tools and machinery, I suppose, most of it. Anyhow, I think it was the second time we went up there. On the way back, it was kind of evening time. We got back there by that schoolhouse, and they were having a big supper of some kind there, and they come out and asked us to come in and eat supper with them. Big picnic style deal. Anyhow, we did that, and we really filled up. The kind of cold weather, getting night. We had quite a ways to go yet. Anyhow, we bowled up on their food and helped us out a whole bunch. And then on the rest of the way home, we sang Springtime in the Rockies, putting her ward out. It got real late, I remember, before we got clear on back home. It was dark for a long time. Quite a ways up there, about, I think you said it was 16 miles, 13 miles from town. That'd be a 26-mile trip. Full team and wagon loaded one way. On the way back, we could tie the one team on behind the front wagon and ride together and talk. On the way up, we each sitting drove our team, but anyhow, quite a little trip up there and back today, plus unloading all the stuff. I don't remember a great lot about the unloading part, but we had to unload them before we come home anyhow. Quite a little ways those days with a team and wagon. We made 2 or 3 trips, I remember. Some of the places, little old sharp hills up there, one little old place, I remember we had quite a little trouble getting up it. It was kind of got slick. It'd been snowy and muddy, and I guess it froze, but it kind of got slick when we was getting up that hill at one time. Little old steep hill, not very long, but kind of seemed like we may have had to double up getting up that place. That slow dragging anyhow. Friday night, come up there one time. Had moved in and went coyote hunting. Don't think we got any coyotes. We sure stirred them up over in that country, over west there. Had 2 or 3 going different directions there and run the hell out of them for a little bit anyhow. Stirred them up good. I think that was 1930 when you moved up there, if I remember right. And that was quite a long time ago. Then you got that deal of breaking horses over to A ranch. And spent a lot of time over there messing around, damned horses. Got those 2 young 2-year-olds started for their boys, his boys. And I used to see them guys quite a little, but I haven't for a long time. Albert, he got to be quite a calf roper in the roundup clubs around later on. And one of them lived out here north of town for a while. I'd see him once in a while and kind of kept track of old Charlie for quite a long time, but he's probably dead by now. Anyhow, one of those horses that I rode over there, the Army bought them, and some big officer got that horse and put him in the Olympics, where they slide down the bank, swim the river, and climb out on the other side, and cross-country trail. And he was doing real good in that Olympic business. I kept track of him through Charlie for several years. He done real good. That kind of makes you feel good. But anyhow, that was quite an experience out there. I'd been down to New Mexico a while, worked on that ranch down there, come back here and you wanted some help, so we did that. Then we got in on going down to Strong City to get those cows they had down there wintering. And they hauled the horses down there and we stayed overnight in the bootlegger's shack out in the hills there. He done a little hair cutting and bootlegging. And we sat around there and slept on the floor and got up the next morning and Charlie had his car down there and he got a jug of that old red corn liquor and it kind of cold and a little bit rainy that next day, and every once in a while he'd stop by every hour or so. He'd done a lot of good. It was, you couldn't hardly stand the taste of it, but it sure did keep you warm. And we got over there Council Grove the first night, or about there anyway. I think we left him in the pasture. Well, we got to Council Grove and had supper and stayed in a little old place up over the restaurant. Beds up there. And the guy that had wintered the cows came up. He had a colored chauffeur and big long limousine. Anyhow, him, Charlie and Taylor still wagging and him, and some other people dropped in. They sat there and drank half the night. And question, you know, I got to mixing their drinks for them, putting ketchup and stuff in them, and getting them all fixed up for them. And about midnight, a little after, that old guy from down there that wintered them, he got sick, and they hustled him out and got him in the limousine, and they took off. Took him home, I guess, but anyhow, they found out the next day he gone to the hospital. He had acute indigestion. But they drank up a lot of stuff that night, I remember. And the next morning, when they started down the stairway, Charlie had new boots and Taylor Stillwagon had new boots. And their heads didn't want to be shook much, I don't think. So when they come down those stairways the next morning, it was like they were sneaking up on a flock of wild geese. We had quite a little fun about the way they come down that stairway. Then when we got those cattle down through the suburbs and out on the highway to come on north. We come down through there and we plowed a bunch of new potato gardens, I remember. It was probably the 1st of April or such, and they planted their potatoes anyway, and golly, we plowed some of them little patches up real good. I think they finally had to pay for some of them. But anyhow, we come on up with them and got them back up to the ranch about one evening. But that was quite a little trip. Trailing them old cows up through the country there. But it was fun, I guess. I kind of enjoyed it, remembered it well anyhow, and thought of it quite a bit. Nowadays, the guy that owns that ranch out there, he's a big oil man, has oil stations and such. He had it covered with horses there one time. For a few years, they bought a bunch of old horses or got them somewhere, and they'd pasture them out there. And then they'd ship them up to Nebraska, and they'd butcher them up there and ship it to France and over in that country for horse meat. They had a lot of horses out there. Anything, everything, all sizes and kinds. They bought them cheap over the country and run them out there on grass and then sell them big for meat. Quite a racket. Hey, there's another little deal that I forgot about. The old buggy running gears that we rode off of the southwest corner of Pikes Peak, guided with your feet and a couple of little short ropes. Yeah, I'll tell you, that was a kind of a ride down off there. That was quite a ride. Finally, it broke down and sat there for a long time. I don't know what became of it finally. But it made quite a wild trips down off of there. And another thing, down at the Pink House, you found a bunch of young coons in the tree there back of the barn. And Lois had one as a pet, and we had one, and you kept one a while. I don't remember what become of yours and Lois's, but anyhow, I think ours got drowned, had her tied down with a creek, and up on the south side of the high bank there on a wire, and thought maybe leaving her down there she'd get bred and have some little ones. And she got tangled up on a rock too low down there, and creek come up and she drowned. But she could sure fish all the corn out of your pocket. Dad used to put some corn, shelled corn in his pocket with his loose change. That little sucker get in there and she'd get all that corn and leave all the change. Right. Whoop, thing, put along. Had a lot of fun with that thing. But I don't know what become of the rest of them. I'm getting kind of short on stuff. I don't know. I'll have to think a while, I guess. Helen, I want to say something. Helen. I'll say hello, Helen. How are you? Take it easy. But maybe she'll want to say a few words on here. Possibly get lost to say something before we send it off to you. I hope it perks you up a little bit, gives you something to think about, and so on. Hope you get to feeling good, better. And I'm getting along fairly good. Can't get much air, but otherwise I'm doing pretty good. Don't feel too bad. Only way that being out of breath makes you feel. So I'll kind of stop for now and see what we can pick up and put on here. Okay? Yeah, here's another thing I thought about. When Uncle Ralph got Uncle Acey to come over and shoot old Zip. Guess that was her name. She was getting old and couldn't make it very good anymore, and he wanted to kill her. Put her out of her misery, and he got Uncle Acey to come over and shoot her. Well, Uncle Acey come over and shot, but all he done was cut the halter off of her. Remember that? She was spooky anyhow, and he got her over a gunshot, I think. Anyhow, finally, your dad went ahead and shot her anyhow. Thought Acey couldn't do it. But he just cut the halter off of her. Then there was the summer that Giovanni and her friend came for a while that summer. I remember sitting on the White Bull, got a picture of that. Somebody did. Anyhow, she was here and stopped to see Lois. We went up there and had a little visit with her a few years ago. She's a pretty nice gal. I don't know what become of the other one. Anyway, that's a little more stuff. Say, Helen, I know you're getting into quite a little job, taking care of this guy. But being as how you're pretty young yet, I'm sure you can handle it all right. So just kind of watch him pretty close. And we'll probably see you later. And get Eleanor wound up to say anything on here. And Lois, I think she's scared of it. She was here the other day cutting my hair and tried to get her to say something. Well, she'd come back and do it. She didn't have time there. But anyhow, maybe they'll get something on there yet. I want to try to fill it up if we can. It's got a lot of junk on there now. But there's quite a little room left. So we'll try to get something on there anyway. Hey, do you remember the old bay mare that Uncle AC got somewhere and she balked every once in a while? Down hay over there, that's south where he lived on the Whitney place, and had a load of hay and he hooked her onto it. And she wouldn't budge. So they decided they'd fix her, and they had a Model T there, I guess, it was a Model T or a Model A. Anyhow, they tied some wires around her tail and to the pitchfork. Then they stuck the pitchfork on the spark plugs of the car, and she didn't ever tighten into the collar. She just stood there and kicked the ground with one hind foot every time that hit her. Big old mare wouldn't tighten the tug. Anyhow, that didn't work very good, but they finally got her to go, I guess, somewhere or another. I borrowed her one time to, they borrowed her for me to use one time with a mare we had, raking some hay over there at the Kern's place. I hooked onto that damn empty rake and drove across a little ravine and started up the other side, right nice going there, and she stopped. And the other mare couldn't pull her in the rake too. She just stand there and walk right where she was standing. And I couldn't do much with her. She'd kick if you hit her with a line or anything. I don't remember. I think we just sat there and waited for an hour or so, and she finally decided to go. But when we moved up there on the Kern's place and down the creek, Casey was helping. Maybe some of you guys were too, but Casey was helping and had this old mare and another one. When we went through by the Paytee house up on the hill there, remember? There was a gate there in the corner of Green's pasture. When we went through there, well, she stopped. Right there, she wouldn't budge. So they backed the wagon ahead of her up, pretty close to her, and threw a log chain around her neck and tied it to the axle of the other wagon ahead of her, and just drove off. Boy, she cut a lot of didos there for a while, but she finally got to getting in the collar. That's the best thing they ever pulled on her. I think they even left it tied around her neck and wrapped it around the neck yoke for a while. Keep her going, but she sure got in gear when that got tight. I didn't know you remembered that or not, but they was, see that big old thing, she just stopped and stand there. Wouldn't do nothing. Fella kind of loses his temper at those kind of things. Can't do nothing about it. Anyhow, that was a nice little old mare he had. Well, I'm out there on the Whitney place, in the pasture there at the north end of the place. There was a spring down there and a draw. Well, right in there somewhere, the Farm Bureau is going to build a big multi-million-dollar new building there. Big expensive thing. One they got's getting obsolete and they haven't got room in it. It's a great big building, multiple story, but they're going to build a great big thing in there. That'll perk up the country, for looks anyhow. And when you live there in the Pink House, right south of the railroad track, they cleared a bunch of timber there one year, remember? Cut wood there all winter, it seemed like. lit 'em with black powder, blew 'em apart, drill holes in 'em and put some of that powder in there and fuse, turn 'em on, boy, and they cracked 'em open pretty good. I guess they used wedges on some of them, but I remember using old black powder busting them oaks. McGehee brothers came over there and took a block of it, cut it right there where the Kitten Creek comes down, makes a bend over gets into the Wildcat there, mouth of Kitten Creek. And right there there's a high bank on the west side of the creek. Down across there, over into the other little point there where they farmed on the other side. That was Pawpaw Band, if you remember. Had some pawpaws over there on the south side along the Wildcat Creek. Little patch in there where there's some brush and kind of timber, and these pawpaws grew there. Ever remember that? And on up the creek just a little ways there where it got another jog in it. There were otter dens. Holes come clear up on top of about a 20-foot bank anyhow, and out down to the water, or down into the water. I didn't know how they ever got those drilled in there. I remember seeing the dens, but the otter gone by then, I guess. I never saw any otter around there, but they had those holes are still there about 10, 12 feet from the edge of the bank. They're on top of it. That was Pawpaw Band, and those otter dens. Those otter might have been a lot of fun to watch. They're really clowny kind of animals. Any I ever saw that were penned up. But they used to have some there, I know, because the holes were there. And I don't know whether the old pawpaw's still hanging on down there or not. I tried to find out a while back and didn't know who the hell to ask. But they were there. Oh, when we was up on the Kern's place, they were still there. Saw my first copperhead down there. Wind had blew. We had some corn down there and we shocked it. Wind blew some of them down and bundles off of them. I was down there. It had a rain too, but I was down there picking it up and reshocking it. And I picked up a bundle out there all by itself and them copperhead under it. And the sucker, he just acted like he was going to chase me. He kept following me. I got a stalk of corn and I flailed him around there a while and finally got him, but sucker, he just acted like he was going to follow me all the time. I didn't like that for shucks. And I sure did step way back when I picked up another bundle or two around there. I stood way back. That was the first copperhead I ever run onto. The rascals. Well, I got to change subjects again now. That changing like that ought to help keep you awake, alert. You remember when We was playing baseball. We had a game with the Cahill team. They had a diamond over there at the north end of Cahill and down off the road there. What's his name? Had a team, and anyhow, Clifford was playing second base, I guess. I think he probably was playing short, but anyhow, had a guy, I was playing right field, and I had a guy on first, and somebody knocked one out there to Clifford, and he picked it up and fired a second to get the lead man, and golly, hit that guy right behind the ear with that ball. Knocked him flatter than hell. He lay there a little while and kicking around. He finally got up, rubbing his head, and he said, "God damn, I thought I was drunk again." Yeah, he already had a pretty good bat, but he sure knocked him out there for a little bit anyway. That old Clint Bolt, he had the team there, and he finally got to be chief of police or something, but anyhow, that was quite a little deal. We thought, gotta get picked off of going to second base. Sure did flatten him out. He was playing football over at the schoolhouse one time. I can't remember his name, but Claris's brother-in-law or something. Anyhow, we were playing there, and I was carrying the ball this time, and the sidewalk was supposed to be out of bounds on the side there. We was heading south. They kind of kept crowding in on me, and I just got up on the sidewalk there running. Supposed to be out of bounds, but that guy, he kept on coming, and he tackled me alongside the schoolhouse there. And as we went down, why, I just kind of rolled over, and he went into that schoolhouse and like to knocked all them rocks loose. Really slid into that. It was unnecessary, but I remember him getting all bashed up there. I skinned my wrist a little bit, but he was all bunged up into that old schoolhouse. Kind of a rough building there. That was Claris's brother-in-law. I think he went over to Salina later on. Little guy, and he run like hell. That was a unnecessary trick, I thought. Okay, let's go back down to the Wildcat a little bit. Pawpaw Band, you know where Pawpaw Band is? Right south of the Pink House, across the railroad track and the high bank there. Looking east across the creek, high bank, and then it goes way down to the creek, and there's a band over in there that farmed. Well, on the south side of that strip down in there, there's a patch of trees, fall trees, kind of off to the field level down along the river or creek side, and there was some pawpaw trees grew in there. Small ones. I mean, I don't remember them being very big. And anyhow, I remember getting some pawpaws off of it, a few. But that was Pawpaw Band. I don't know whether you ever knew about that or not, but Anyhow, that was along in the late 20s when I was down there farming at last. We farmed it a couple of years. After you folks moved off, we farmed it a couple of years later on. That and a whole bunch of that south of the big house. But anyway, I got to wondering the other day if those darn pawpaws were hanging out yet down there. And I couldn't think of anybody to call or find out from. So I haven't found out yet. That was Pawpaw Band. And just around the corner there, a little ways south along the creek. It was up the creek, however, but kind of across from the mouth of Kitten Creek. There was a otter den up there. Had a hole clear out up on top of the bank, about a 15 foot down to the water, but the hole come out on top of the bank about 10, 12 feet from the edge of the bank at that time. I can remember that hole, but the otters had disappeared a while before, I guess. I don't know just when, but that was an otter hole there. So there used to be otter down there too, I guess. Calendars gonna write a letter and not put anything on this, so I'm gonna say thanks again for the try you made, and it makes me feel real good that you tried that hard. And I'm awful sorry you couldn't make it work. And I hope you're getting along fine, and take care, and we'll see you later. You take care of him, Helen. I know you can do it, being young like you are and all. But good luck to you both.